Good evening, everybody. We are back. The Big Men on Campus. We're live. College basketball, it means only one thing, that music. It means the season is back. And I'm excited to break down the first day of college basketball. As you guys all know, my name is Jeff. They call me the Big Man on Campus. And I'm also here from C2CSportsroom.com. We are sponsored by C2CSportsroom.com. And, I'm excited because, as you guys know, throughout my sports kind of handicapping career and everything, I've always maintained I enjoy college basketball. It's one of the sports that I actually enjoy to watch. I enjoy, even if I don't have a bet on a game, I enjoy watching college basketball. I enjoy breaking it down. I enjoy talking about it. I try to learn as much as I can about it. And, I'm generally excited. I can't wait. I'm excited for tonight. It kind of snuck up on us, We've kind of been entrenched in college football and even the NBA, and we're just kind of entrenched in everything, and it's nice to finally get back to a sport that is near and dear to my heart. I generally enjoy. There's sports that I kind of just talk about because people like to bet on them, whether it's the NFL or whatever, but college sports are genuinely sports that I enjoy, whether I don't have a bet or I do have a bet on them. But my co-host here, Sean Harness. Sean, I'm excited to have you on. We're going to kind of try to do this, on a weekly basis. When basketball really starts to kick up, we'll start getting back to a daily show. But we're sponsored by C2CSportsroom.com, a website that you and I are both on. We kind of are really doing some good things on there, and I'm excited to kind of start a little initiative here with you to kind of break down these games, kind of give the listeners, our breakdowns, because as many know, we love college basketball. How you doing today? You excited for the season to kick off tonight?
I can't wait. A lot of questions, but we'll see where it goes. But ready for the grind of the daily, 60 games a day and all the obscure conferences. And I don't think there's a better place to go if you want to talk about mid-majors and other schools that never get any pub. You're going to get plenty of it here with us.
Yeah, and that's the key. We this show is free. We don't charge for this. We have our service. We have our thing, and that is more or less all sports combined. Keep in mind, this is a college basketball show. We're going to keep it college basketball, and we're going to send it out to you as often as we can and try to really give you some really dialed in, solid information and great picks. So, kind of first things first, Sean, I do want to point out the website, C2CSportsroom.com. You and I are both on there. We're doing some good things. I know you've been on a really great run lately. I had a good week last week. We're entrenched in all sports, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, NFL, a lot of stuff going on. So I urge everyone, get on over there. I mean, it just, whether it's just, coming on for maybe a weekend. We'll give you some plays. You can give us a try, see how we do. And I think you'll learn quickly that we have a true passion and like to do this. And we want to develop friends and customers as well that we can kind of be cool with and win some money together. That's all that matters at the end of the day, right, Sean?
That's right. I mean, it's pretty obvious we're not trying to get rich off of it. I mean, we got to deal $200. You get both of our plays for the rest of the year.
Yep.
We're not getting rich off of it. We just want to help you guys make money, and we don't want you to be winning games just so you can pay for our service. We want you to be able to put money in your pocket for the holidays, for your family, for whatever you're going to do, for your mistress. Do your thing and have some fun.
Yeah, it's that's all it's about really at the end of the day. And like you said, we're not looking to break your bank. We're looking to get you involved and kind of just grab us something for our hard work. We work hard and do our thing, and let's kind of jump away and get into the basketball here. We got a lot to do. A Friday card. We're here live about 3 o'clock Eastern here on the East Coast, and we're hours away from the season. And I think really early on, it's good to kind of just get some house cleaning out of the way, Sean. It's clear, when you're betting college basketball, it's different than any other sport due to the fact of the amount of games you're seeing on a Saturday. I mean, you got 60 games today. You get 351 Division I teams, and most of them are in play on Saturdays. Whether it be, there's a lot of games. It looks, especially to a novice, it looks very intimidating. The key to college basketball, and I know how I cap. My goal is to find every year, 4 to 8 teams that put money in your pocket, whether it's a mid-major, whether it's a very small school, even a conference that you enjoy. I know I tend to do that in most sports, particularly college. In college last year, I had IPFW and UC Davis the year before. There are teams that are just get the job done and they make you money, and even in football we do it as well. They're just those teams that kind of get you excited. They work well for you, and the advice I would give to them is don't go out and just look at a card and just say, you know what, I'm going to try to pick through this and try to find games. That you're not going to do well doing that. You're going to waste a lot of time. And I know you and I cap pretty similarly. So what would be one thing you would give to, let's say, a guy that's listening to the show that's kind of just getting involved in this?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Either, you stick with a conference you like, especially one if you like up-tempo, you go with a certain conference, or, if it's near your school, if you maybe anything that might draw you there and that you can focus in on. Because like you said, you try to look at everything. There's not a person alive that I know, well, maybe one, that can really, break down every team, every game, every week, and do it successfully. You really got to hone in on, like you said, a handful of teams, a conference or two, and go from there. It's just way too overwhelming, and what will happen is you'll spread yourself thin, and when you start losing, you're going to just panic, and things are not going to go well.
And you have to, especially early on, you really have to kind of put the internet to work for you. Put the internet to work and say, where can I go and find information? That's, at the end of the day, that's what this business is all about. It's finding information that gives you an edge to play aside. Whether it, if you enjoy line moves, that's big. For me, line moves in college basketball particularly, I'm not that into. I think with the amount of stuff going on, I just think with a sport so big, you can find lines that are soft. I mean, in college basketball, there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason you can bet a certain amount on college basketball, unlike other sports. I mean, it's you can beat it, especially if you find the information, you find things that work for you, and you just kind of put the time in, which I think is what we do. And a lot of the time you're going to come out on top. So
yeah, the books know that. Like you said, that's why they put a limit to it. They can't keep track of it, so don't think you can. You got to hone in on what you can do and what you can do. And like you said, the internet's there, and fortunately, these are college programs, and there's always college students willing to write about their team, and there's always great information.
Sure, and whether it be Western Illinois, Vermont, or Michigan State, there's someone out there, like you said, that blogs about it, that talks about it, that knows about it. Beat writers are your friends. Remember that. I know in football, I know my friend Donnie Rightside, him and we have beat writers that I know you do as well, that, you wouldn't, you don't know them, but when you talk to them, they respond. They're there to answer questions. They want you to be interested. They want, in a way to answer your question. That's why they're there. So you use your resources, and, at any rate, even listen to us. We'll try to steer in the right direction as well, because I don't know about you, Sean, but ever since I started handicapping, I care most about the games that I give out to people. I can lose my own money. You know what I mean? Throwing in stupid things, futures and stuff. But at the end of the day, I care about these games that I'm giving out, and I try to prep a lot and do a lot of work here, and it's all there. So let's quit talking about what we might do, and let's talk about what we're going to do here today, Friday afternoon, breaking down some basketball. I know you have some plays you're excited about, and I think first week you definitely want to see where your team's at. You definitely got to remember. I mean, they've been off for a while. It's first game. You got certain spots for certain teams, and I'm going to try to deliver you some information here. First game, Sean, I think it's an interesting one. Let's take a look at Virginia laying 14 at UNC Greensboro, and I think early on you look at this game and you might say to yourself, that's an easy winner for Virginia. Well, there's a lot of interesting storylines in this game, and one of which is the fact that Virginia lost a lot last year to graduation. I mean, you got to remember, they were very good offensively last year. They, I believe, were, as far as field goal percentage per game, they were, I think they were in the top 10. I think they were 7th in the country last year in field goal percentage. They lose Malcolm Brogdon, one of the best players in the country. They lose Tony Gill. They lose Mike Tobey. They lose a lot last year. They brought in Austin Nichols, a guy from Memphis who just can't seem to get on the court, Sean. I mean, he was injured last year. He transferred to Virginia. Now he's suspended for a violation of team rules. And they also are going to be without Mamadi Diakite, who is a young kid down low that they're really excited about, that they're also going to be without. You got to wonder who they're going to start down low in this game. And they don't have a lot to really work with. London Prontes, you remember him from last year?
Oh, yeah.
He's going to lead the charge here at guard, but the problem for him is, London Prontes is more of a distributor. He's not a guy that really can, take a team. I mean, you could put him on his back, but not like Malcolm Brogdon, not a guy that can take a game over. He's more of a distributor type of player, and it's interesting because you don't really ever see a SoCo, a Southern Conference team, hosting a Power 5 team in the first game of the year. You got to figure this Greensboro Stadium is going to be pumped up tonight. You don't get a game like this very often, especially the first game. A lot of people are wondering, I don't know much about Greensboro. Greensboro is a team that returns 4 starters from last year, and they're picked 5th to win in this conference this year, a conference that's actually pretty good. I mean, they have some good teams down there. Davidson and some other teams in the past, they came out of the Southern Conference. They return a guy in Deontay Baldwin, who you don't probably know much about. Good point guard, had a great career. Doesn't get a lot of pub because he plays the UNC Greensboro, but he's a guy that doesn't turn the ball over. He can really battle with London Prontes, and it's all going to come down to, can Greensboro make some shots against this pack line defense with the underperforming backup players that are going to play tonight? Don't have a lot of experience. They're kind of walking wounded here, per se, are Virginia. I think going into this is a tough atmosphere, and kind of a game that I think Greensboro is going to be really excited for. Not saying Virginia won't be, but they're not going to have that same group of guys that we're used to seeing from Virginia. Greensboro's covered 7 of 11 at home, and they've won 12 of 16 at home. So, they love playing here, and they bring back a lot. I'm going to take a shot here with Greensboro. I think a lot of people will look to Virginia and say, well, that should be an easy winner, but Greensboro's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You look at Virginia, like you said, if you remember last year, Virginia, to start the season, I mean, they won games, but they weren't covering the big number. They were constantly, double-digit favorites, and they weren't covering. They couldn't get their offense figured out. The defense will somewhat be there, but their offense, for all it was worth, it wasn't great last year. I mean, their efficiency was great, but as far as putting up big numbers or anything like that, they weren't doing it. And UNC Wilmington, I mean, that they got they got a top 70 offensive efficiency, top 70 defense. If they get, I'm looking at 65. They put up 65 points. They should cover this game. I think this is a wild one that possibly could even pull off an upset against the Virginia team that, like you said, I mean, they're going to be a top 5 team in the ACC once the conference gets going and once he gets the system implicated into there. But as for now, like I remember last year, you've seen it. It takes some time. Even when they had the veterans coming back, it takes time. It's a team defense. It's a team system. And until those guys get some minutes under their belt, it's not going to be who you think they are. This number, I think, is way too big. And I think it's come down somewhat. It's actually one play that I am going to give out to the clients today. You mentioned UNC Greensboro picks finish 5th in a good conference, but I like them probably a top 3 team in that conference. Yeah, I like what they're doing. You mentioned a lot of it, bringing back, 4 of their 5 top scorers. Watch out. They could surprise some people tonight at home in a good environment.
Yeah, I mean, look, in this conference, I think Chattanooga looks like the Kings, but, I mean, East Tennessee State's a pretty good team, and, same with, a Mercer can surprise you. But, look, Greensboro's going to play well. They got a lot of guys coming back. And, look, last year with Virginia, this team, I mean, they had trouble on the road at times. I mean, they go on the road, second game of the season last year, and lose to George Washington. They also, lost to Virginia Tech last year, lost to Georgia Tech, teams that are not necessarily that good. And I just think they may surprise Greensboro tonight. I think it's kind of maybe a little bit of an experienced team against a team that's kind of starting out the gate a little slow. That is going to have to get their guys healthy and kind of working together here. So I would take a shot here with Greensboro. Line kind of moved a little bit. I would have loved to have gotten 16, which is what it was last night, but even at 14, 15, I think Greensboro is a good play. Next one, 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to take UNC. I like UNC tonight. Land 21 at Tulane over-under's 149. Obviously with the first show of the season, there's a little bit more information that we divulge, obviously, because these are all new teams, basically. You lose things. With Tulane, kind of an interesting offseason. They got rid of their coach and actually brought in Mike Dunleavy Sr. I know that name's going to be familiar to a lot of people. And you look at Dunleavy, you got to ask yourself, what the hell is this about? What? He's never coached in college before, and now he's going to go coach at Tulane. Kind of an odd. I don't know what Tulane, the mystique in Tulane is. There's a college coach, Willie Fritz. He left a good program to go to Tulane in football, and I didn't really understand it. I don't get the mystique about this program. It's not like they're going to be very good anyway. They're rebuilding. They have a totally new group of guys in. They lost their leading scorers last year, and Lewis Dabney, Dabney's a guy that took a game over, and Dylan Ostakowski transferred. So now you have an offense that wasn't very good last year as it is, coming back here with two seniors on the roster, Sean. They don't have a lot of upperclassmen. They struggled to score the basketball last year, and they turned the ball over at an alarming rate. Tulane turned the ball over 14 times a game, which was second in that conference for the most. And I think early on, Tulane's going to struggle. I mean, they're going to struggle all year, but now you got to face a UNC team who, look, I mean, every year is just kind of just, they wheel and deal and bring in some guys that are just so deep. I mean, they bring back Nate Britt, Kennedy Meeks, Joe Barry, Isaiah Hicks, Justin Jackson. They also bring in Sevens Woods, who's potentially going to be a star at shooting guard for this team. Roy Williams down in recruiting this year, you could say, but this team's going to be stacked. Last year they faced Tulane, won 96-72. It was an easy win. I just think Tulane's going to struggle to score out of the gate here. They should be the same, if not worse, offensively. They turn the ball over. They're extremely young, and now you got to face in a neutral court. You got to face UNC. This isn't at their normal stadium. It's a neutral court game. I just see this one as a running away blowout, 85-60, something like that. Not a lot here. I just think UNC wears them down. I just don't know that Tulane's ready to compete.
Yeah, I mean, you look, obviously North Carolina lost a lot, but they bring in a bunch. They've always been a top 10 rebounding team.
Sure.
And even though Johnson's gone, Meeks should come in, take over. You've seen a couple of those kids that really weren't that great during the regular season, like Justin Jackson, really step it up come tournament time. Big learning experience for him. They're going to really lean on him in what is going to be a absolutely brutal ACC conference that's just loaded from top to bottom. But like you said, I mean, maybe there's something working here with Dunleavy in like 4 or 5 years from now. They might be decent, but right now, I mean, trying to implement a whole new style of offense to an already not great team is going to be tough. And to get UNC, good luck. A team that's going to be ready to just go up and down on them all day. And I just see a lot of one-and-done possessions out of Tulane. I don't see him scoring much. And really, with North Carolina, name your number, however many they want to put up, they should put up. Interesting team going forward, though. I'm interested to see how North Carolina competes this year in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the rebounding edge, I mean, Kennedy makes 9.2 rebounds a game. Isaiah Hicks, 9 rebounds a game. They're going to rebound just as good as last year. I mean, obviously you lose Marcus Page and Bryce Johnson, but as we know, I mean, they're so deep that they're still going to throw 4 or 5 guys this year at you that are, I mean, really good. So it's nothing that Tulane is going to throw at you. And like I said, Tulane, 2 seniors on the entire team. So they're going to struggle with leadership. They're going to struggle with some growing pains early on. Dunleavy has his hands full because at the end of the day, Tulane not exactly a basketball hotbed. He's going to have to do a lot to recruit. I just don't really see it. So I'll lay it 21. I think it's a decent number. This could be an all-out blowout. Next one, I'm going to go and take a shot and take a look at. Sean, a team that I think you're used to, you know a lot about, and I'm intrigued by. I'm going to take a shot with Ball State, -3 at St. Louis. St. Louis, kind of a sad story. I mean, this program several years ago, actually 5 or 10 years ago, Rick Majerus. This was a good program. Larry Hughes went to the league from St. Louis. This is a pretty storied program out in the Midwest, but they've fallen on hard times. They really are struggling to score the basketball, to get any sort of recruit in there that can give you anything. And they're facing a team in Ball State who has become pretty solid. I mean, they're really building a decent brand out there with, this is a good football conference. We enjoy this football conference, but the basketball conference has actually become pretty good as well. This team won the MAC West last year, 21-14. They lost a couple guys, but I don't think people quite had understood how good they were last year as far as from a numbers perspective. Very good defensively, 54th in the country, gave up just 66 points a game, and offensively they were pretty good as well. Shot the ball well from three, made almost 9 threes a game, good for 29th in the country, and they have pretty good depth. They welcome back mostly everyone. They bring back senior forward Franco House, who they think is going to be their go-to guy this year. And they're just kind of a solid team. They covered some numbers. The problem is, you look at over the last 3 years as a favorite, Ball State 2-13 against the spread. So they're not used to being a favorite, but I think last year kind of showed them they're ready to compete and lay points in games. And you saw it last year. They were a team that I know for many teams in the MAC, they were good against the spread. This St. Louis team, get this, Sean, as an underdog over the last 3 years, take a guess in 42 games how many St. Louis won straight up.
Oh, God, probably not many. 10, 11, 12?
8. So they do not win when they're an underdog. They never win, actually. It's like seeing a lunar eclipse. You're going to see that more often. They're also 18-36 against the spread over the last 3 years. They're just kind of a tough team to back. I mean, they don't cover on the road, or they don't cover at home. Ball State covers on the road. I think Ball State coming out here, they're excited for the season to begin. They're excited to build off a successful season last year, and maybe try to win this conference. I mean, there's usually never a team in the MAC that kind of you say, wow, they're a tournament team every year. But in this conference, you have kind of a logjam. You have Bowling Green and Akron who are normally decent, and Ohio. I think it's just anyone's conference, really. And I think coming out, they're going to be excited. I like Ball State laying just 3 points on the road. I think to get the job done here, I could see it by double digits. I just don't think St. Louis is ready to compete. They're not good offensively. They're going to struggle. By the way, Sean, real quick last year, St. Louis, they lose their leading scorer on a team that was 319th in the country offensively. Another team going to struggle to put the ball in the hoop. I like Ball State in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's weird because this was one that initially, when I just did a first glance over, I had to do a double take, and I went, and I'm like, why are they only laying 3? And I figured that kid Franco House is a beast. He does everything: rebound, score, everything, assists. He's just a beast. I'm like, he's got to be out. And when he wasn't, I was surprised. You mentioned a team that wins 20-plus games last year. A lot of it came in the second half. They sort of found their rhythm. And it'll be interesting this year to see how they come out the gate, sort of not with a target on their back, but more expectations than the past few years where they've only won 10 or 11 games. So, like you said, wide open division. This one, though, St. Louis, they're just bad. I mean, they're one of the worst, bottom 50 teams in the country, and I don't know how they're going to do it. I think Ball State, they sort of have a goal in mind here. They got a leader. They know what they're shooting for. And they got a good all-around game, and they got a good coach in Whiteford that's really building a program there. And laying 3, I still don't understand why it's only 3. I think it should be 6. I did see that number about them against the spread, but it is what it is. Like you said, they really were never as good as maybe they should be this year. Definitely should fight for the title, but laying 3 on the road, one of the better plays, I think, today, and the fact that people have bet in St. Louis, I think, is absolutely nuts, because that program is in big trouble this year. Big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year with Ball State, and I think it's important to mention this. They opened the season last year and lost at Bradley. Okay, Bradley was awful last year. They were one of the probably top 10 worst teams in the country. They lost their first game of the season, Ball State, last year. Actually went on to lose 2 of 3 to begin the season. Lost at Eastern Kentucky and Bradley. You got to figure they're going to want to come out here and kind of right the ship. They had a tough start last year, kind of put them behind the 8 ball. Then they go and beat Valpo last year, which is odd. They were a weird team last year, but you look at the schedule this year. I mean, they went to the CIT last year, lost to Columbia, but I think their sights are set on a bigger tournament this year. Can they get to the dance? I think they could win this conference. They also have opportunities at Alabama, at Valpo, at North Florida, a team that will probably get to the dance this year. They have opportunities to win some non-conference games and to kind of get them going here in the MAC. I think this is a good play. I think we're both on the same page. I urge you, take a look at Ball State. I think early on, this is going to be a pretty solid play at the end of the night.
I think they could beat Bama next week, too. If they get to those first 2 wins, St. Louis, Indiana State, get the ball rolling early, they could go and beat Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's big about this squad because you look at early on with Ball State, you figure they'll beat St. Louis, Indiana State, Larry Bird's not walking through the door. Then they got to go to Alabama, which, look, SEC, got to go to Alabama. That's a tough game. If they could somehow win that game, though, they go to 3-0, you're beat Coppin. Coppin sucks. Southern Utah sucks. You could go into Valpo at Valpo on Sunday after Thanksgiving, 5-0. So, it's really big, some of these games early on. And like I said, they want to right the ship from last year. They had a tough start to the year. So, I like Ball State. Very solid play. One of the better plays, I think, on the board tonight. Sean, let's move on to Valparaiso. How about it? Talk about them a little bit. Valpo and the boys laying 23 against Southern Utah. Another interesting offseason for a basketball team. Valparaiso, Bryce Drew, gone. He moves on, goes to Vanderbilt. Bryce Drew, well-deserved. Okay, this kid went to Valpo, had that amazing shot for Valpo, kind of went there and coached, had a great career coaching there, moves on to a bigger program. I don't think anyone looks at Bryce Drew. That's what's going to happen. Good young coach, move on to a better opportunity in the SEC. They bring in a coach, Matt Loffich, who has been an assistant there for 3 years, and one of their better assistants. They really like what they have with him, and they promoted him. And I like that about Valpo. They promote from within. They kind of look to grab someone with the same values that the university conveys. And Valpo just continues to be one of the more consistent mid-major teams you're going to find, Sean. And I know last year they were on a lot of my tickets. I really enjoyed Valparaiso. They play the ball the way it's supposed to be played. They don't turn the ball over. They play great defense, and they defend at a high level. You look at last year, Valparaiso, 9th in the country in scoring defense, gave up just 58.5 points a game at home. They were stifling, weren't they, last year defensively?
Yes.
Yeah. Also bring back Alec Peters, who is the preseason All-American and the best player in the Horizon League. Senior year, ready to take his team to the promised land. They were the runner-up last year, Sean, in the NIT, if you remember. Unfinished business, I think, for Valpo. They're ready to get into the tournament. They had a tough loss last year in the Horizon League tournament. And I think this year, the rule and the motto for this team is, let's go to the dance. We got Alec Peters. We got him back. We got a new coach. Why can't we get to the dance this year? Why they kind of seem kind of like one of the better mid-major stories out there, don't they?
They do. And you mentioned some conferences that are sort of loaded. This one's a little top-heavy. And the teams up there all lost some. You look at Oakland, they're down from last year, maybe even Wright State. And who beat them in the tournament? Green Bay, right?
Yes, they were pitiful actually in their tournament game. They gave up 99 points to Green Bay in overtime. It wasn't pretty, put it that way.
Yeah. So I mean, they were supposed to go. They didn't get. They get upset, like you said. Unfinished business. Should be an easy changing of the guard where the new head coach. But like you said, he's always been there for a long time. They got a kid, Parker Hazen, coming in. I believe it's next year, who is actually a top 25 recruits. The future looks bright, but as for this year, you got to figure a possible. They played 37 games this year, possible 30-win season out of them. And listen, when in doubt, if you're rushing home late on a Saturday or whatever, and you want to put a bet in, just see who Southern Utah is playing and bet against them. God awful offense, almost the worst offensive efficiency in the country last year. Awful offensive deficiency, and they, for whatever reason, play at one of the breakneck speed. So teams put up big numbers on them.
Right.
Look Valpo to get out there and drop at least 80, 90 points on them tonight, you would think. And an interesting team in Valpo that could actually maybe upset somebody in the tournament if they stay healthy.
Well, and Valpo, look, I mean, they won 30 games last year. They should have been in the tournament. They really should have. And, you know, like I said, that's, for a guy like Alec Peters, that's dangerous because this kid, I mean, you look at what he did last year. I mean, 18 points a game, 9 rebounds. The kid's good. He can shoot the three. He's really just an all-around player, plays great defense. You know, and the shameful thing here about, quickly before I get into Southern Utah, you look at Valpo's schedule. You got to go to Oregon, to Kentucky. You get Rhode Island, a ranked team. You know, you mentioned you got to play Oakland twice. You got Alabama on the schedule and Ball State, we mentioned earlier. You mentioned the up-tempo conference this is. I mean, Youngstown, Green Bay, Oakland, Detroit. I mean, just love to run up and down the court. I think early on, that Valpo, Southern Utah's not coming in here and going to blow them away with this breakneck speed. The problem with Southern Utah is they run an offense that makes zero sense for them. They don't have players that should be running this offense. They have a brand new coach who basically, I read an article, basically has said he's only going to play no matter who you are on the team. They don't have any upperclassmen really. He basically came out and said, we don't care if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior. If you play my system, you'll play no matter what your talent level is. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Southern Utah, they don't exactly get 5-star recruits. And you look at what they did last year. I mean, they were shameful in the defensive end. Gave up over 80 points a game. Allowed opponents to shoot 50%. And like you said, when you play up-tempo, that leads to a lot of blowouts. You look at last year. I mean, St. Mary's, 92-36. Butler, they lost 88-52. Lost by 20 to UNLV. You know, they did just – it makes for a lot of poor blowout losses. And – they don't rebound the ball well. They were 340th out of 351 teams in rebounding per game last year. They do everything bad that Valpo does extremely well. It's just a terrible matchup for them. They got to go on the road with no talent, a brand new coach, and face a Valpo team who is hungry to get the season started. This is a poor matchup for Southern Utah. I am really concerned about their psyche tonight. I mean, they were 6-24 last year in the Big Sky Conference, which, Sean, I mean, how many times are we going to talk about Northern Colorado, Northern Arizona, Portland State, Sac State? I mean, this conference sucks. And Valpo is ready to get started. I think this is like 84-54, something like that. I would lay at 23, I think it's a great number. I would lay 27.5 if I had to. I think this is a 30-point blowout for Valpo.
Yeah, Southern Utah, worst three-point defense in the country last year. So, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah, it's just, again, I mean, last year, maybe you look at the first half as well. I would be comfortable with laying really anything here. I mean, first half, game, team total. Valpo's going to do a lot in this game. I mean, like you said, Southern Utah just seem to do everything wrong. I mean, they just kind of beat themselves. But, as far as that's concerned, that's kind of four of the games that I think are intriguing. I mean, UNC minus 21, Greensboro plus 14, Ball State minus 3, and Valpo minus 23. I also want to go over, several other ones that I think are interesting, kind of games that I think people have their finger on and they want to hear a breakdown. I know last year, Sean, Citadel was a team that I know you and I both bet a lot of overs with. The Citadel it's actually alarming how disgraceful they are on defense. It's really It's really unbelievable. I mean, I know, Sean, you mentioned to me last year, how do you give up 100 points? This team gave up 100 points a game on the road last year.
Yeah,
100 points. 100 points a game in college. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, a schedule last year, for instance, really quick, I just want to kind of break this down. They gave up, in a college basketball game, the first game of the year, they gave up 144 points. In a college basketball game. I mean, he gave up 95 to Presbyterian. Georgia Southern scored 90 on you. Gave up 97 to Air Force, 101 to Campbell. Gave up 111 to Charlotte, 91 to Mercer, 101 to East Tennessee State, 111 to VMI, 102 to West Carolina. I mean, it's really unreal how bad they are on defense. I mean, I'm blown away. I'm blown away in a 40-minute game how you give up 144 points. That's per minute. That's like 4 points a minute. I don't even know.
Well, the team, it's not like all these teams were shooting 60 or 70% either. They were just shooting their normal percentage and just getting it done. Like, it's just ugly games to watch. I don't know what. I
mean, Sean, per minute, 144 points in 40 minutes. It's 3.6 points per minute. It's really unreal. I'm blown away. And now they face today a team in Charleston who is the polar opposite of them. Charleston's going to be the best team in the CAA defensively. They are extremely good on the defensive end, and it's going to be really who's going to be able to assert their style. Will it be up-tempo and no defense, or will it be grind you out, College of Charleston, 61-59 type of games? I think you're going to come to kind of a happy medium. It's hard for me to lay 20-plus points with Charleston due to the fact that they lost Canyon Barry, who went to Florida and is probably their best player from last year. They got Joe Cheatley coming back from injury. They have, just kind of some unquestioned things, but it's hard to ever get involved with Charleston. I mean, Sean, break this down for you for a second. Charleston, last 3 years, 32-17 to the under. Last 3 years for Citadel, 29-12 to the over. So, truly a game that is a total coin flip. If I had to bet this game, I would go with Charleston. But don't be quick to bet the over here, because I get a feeling we see a game like last year where Charleston will score 80, but Citadel can only score, 65. I don't see this one getting into the Charleston might score 100, but I don't think Citadel is going to be that great. I mean, you also got to realize, Sean, last year that Citadel lost their two leading scorers. So, are they going to be the same team? I don't know. It's an interesting game. Definitely a clash in styles.
Yeah, when I first saw 150 in a Citadel game, I got excited. But you mentioned it to me, and I looked into it, and you're right. I mean, it's a slow style and a good defense. Like you said, maybe they give up 80 points, but how many points are they going to be able to score on them? Not only did they lose their top two, I think they lost like 4 of their top 7 scorers. So really depleted for them this year. It'll be interesting, though. It's something to definitely watch with that Citadel team because, it could turn into what we saw last year eventually, depending on the teams they're playing. You look at some of the up-tempo teams they'll be playing soon, and those might be the good spots for it. But maybe today, sit back and watch. I think we've seen that total go 5 or 6 points. And that's another thing. If you look, there's a ton of totals today that you've seen move from anywhere from 5 to 12 points going towards the over. And we saw the same thing with the new rules implemented last year that everyone hopped on the overs early in the season. And a lot of them didn't come through. So don't just try to line read these games and you see, all this public action on a total. Be careful with that because, like you said, unless if people are really digging in, it could be a wolves in sheep's clothing type thing.
Yeah, I mean, don't just think because Citadel gave up 92 points a game last year. I mean, they're going to be bad defensively this year. And, like we've said before, high tempo means a lot of blowouts a lot of the time for an efficient team. And Charleston comes in, they're going to be pretty good in this conference this year. They're going to be top 3 in this conference, and they play hellish defense. So don't be quick to just bet overs because it's Citadel. This total is all the way up to 161, 161 and a half. This could fall 81, 61, and you're way under. So it could be one of those true kind of wolf in sheep's clothing type of games. Another one here, Villanova laying a big number, and I know a lot of guys. I know Ashimusu, a listener of ours, mentioned that I seem to always tie in on these high spread games, and you're right. Sometimes you just got to lay the number, man. Lay the wood. I would do it tonight with Villanova, but I'm skeptical. First game off the winning the whole thing. They're at home. They're facing Lafayette, a team that they beat last year 94-52, I believe. I mean, it wasn't close. Lafayette struggles to score the basketball. I mean, they really do. I mean, they're in the Patriot League, a league that's known for low scores. They don't put up a lot of points. Lafayette wants to play in the 50s. That's their goal. The problem is Villanova is so dynamic that that's not going to happen. 34 though. I don't know. I mean, it's a high number, but I could definitely see a situation where, Jay Wright and Jalen Brunson and Chris Jenkins. I mean, Chris Jenkins is back. Josh Hart's back. I mean, this team's going to be really good. It's just, do you lay the number off winning the whole thing? They're either going to be really pumped up, or they're just going to glide through this one, win by 25, and that's that. I wouldn't be willing to bet on it, but I think Villanova will win going away. This should be like a 91-51 type of game, but it's a lot of points, man.
It is a lot, but last year they did the same thing. They opened the season at home against some cupcakes the first 4 games of the season. They won all of them by at least 20. Now, a lot of them were right near where this number is. I think it's a pretty good number. You can argue they're almost better than they were last year. Offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, both in the top 5. I think there was only one other team that was in the top 5 for both. This year, projections out of the season, number 2 in offense, number 3 in defense. It's just like you said. I mean, is there going to be a big party before this game, and they're going to raise banners, and they're going to be distracted, and they're just going to coast into a 25-point win, and you get screwed? It's a tough number. Nova's legit, though, this year. They're going to be up there in the top 10 all year long, and we'll see if the kids have enough left in the tank to make another run through a tough Big East conference. When I say tough, it's a physical conference where people usually get injured, and it takes a lot to win the Big East, and then make a run through the NCAA. Be interesting, but they'll be right there with Xavier and a couple other teams as well. Great, too.
One thing I do want to point out, last year, Jay Wright did not schedule a lot of, there's bad cupcakes, and then there's really bad cupcakes. Lafayette, Southern Utah, Grambling, those are your really lower end type of teams. Last year, Fairleigh Dickinson, that was the only real cupcake Villanova had. 190-154, crushed East Tennessee State by 35, hammered LaSalle, who is an in-city kind of rival. They beat up on teams last year, 87-63 against Nebraska. I wouldn't be betting on Lafayette here. I'm just saying that, but
I'll tell you, they scheduled tougher this year. They got a tougher start to the season than it was last year.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe under 149. Lafayette, I think they may struggle to see 55 in this game. But
second half under.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, with kind of the guys coming out, I don't know. It's an interesting one. Another one that I'm intrigued by. I know. Last year, Idaho State was a team that, out in the Big Sky, that made me some money last year, late night. It's actually interesting. They're led by Ethan Telfair, Sean, who, younger brother of Sebastian Telfair, who I was a big fan of years ago. They bring back everyone. A lot of their guys from last year. They're a team that kind of is a scrappy. They don't play a ton of defense, but they can score the basketball. And they're going to New Mexico, who, New Mexico, I mean, they were there were possibilities that their coach Craig Neal was going to get fired. He ended up keeping the job, but they've just been a kind of a team in decline. I mean, it is tough to go into the pit and play. I'm not going to lie and say it isn't, but the same old intrigue that New Mexico is going to throw at you, they just don't have it anymore. I kind of want to lean with Idaho State here. Idaho State, I was kind of a fan of. I kind of fell in love a little too much maybe with them last year, but I think they're a team that can cover a number like this. I think it's a little too many points. New Mexico last year, you look at what they did in the out-of-conference. I mean, let me quick pull that up here, Sean. Bear with me 1 second here. Boom. They killed Texas Southern, went to New Mexico State, only won by 9. Struggled with USC out of conference. Nichols only won by 12. Beat Oral Roberts by 16. They weren't. Beat lost to Rice by 1. Lost to Auburn last year. Lost to Washington State. I mean, talk about alarming, Sean. Last year they lost to Washington State by 23 points. Washington State is a joke. I think Idaho State's a decent play here against New Mexico.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that Big Sky Conference, it's going to be an interesting one to watch this year with them. A couple decent teams that weren't great last year that are going to be good. It'll be a good one. Weber State, Portland State, interesting there. But what's the line at now? Did you see what it is?
17.
17, yeah, that's a little much. I think grabbing those points, you should be good in a game like this. Where I'm not going to say they could win, but New Mexico, I mean, they're still, like you said, they're sort of growing. Decent team. 18's a lot, man. Idaho State, they played really well once they got into conference, and they made a nice little run last year. They had a little trouble out of conference. They played a ton of road games and lost almost all of them. I think they lost their first 7 road games out of conference. But after that, they got things figured out. They played pretty well. We'll see if it continues down the stretch here. But that's a lot of points for going up against a team that, you got to figure they're going to have to score 70, 80 points to cover that one, you would think.
Yeah. I think it's maybe a little too many. I think Idaho State's worth a look. This one's really interesting. It's game 799, 800, I believe. Chattanooga getting 3 points at Tennessee. Talk about an in-state rivalry kind of early on. Chattanooga is picked to win the Southern Conference, and they come off a great year last year. I mean, they were a team that I know you bet on a lot last year. They were a team that, was great. Trey McClain, Casey Jones, they're both back this year. They beat Georgia last year, went in, beat Illinois. They beat some team, beat Dayton. Just really interesting. A team that I think coming into this year is excited. They're excited at the prospect of going back to the March Madness. They faced Indiana in the first round, got crushed, but they're back. Everyone's back. And now they go on the road and face Tennessee, who, look, I mean, this isn't that same old Tennessee team. I mean, Wayne Chisholm's not walking through the door, and, they're just, are they the same team? No. But 3 points is nothing. I mean, they're giving a lot of respect to Chattanooga here. Chattanooga, though, could be one of your better mid-majors this year. But for me, look, I'm going to go with them here. I think they're a team that could really surprise a lot of people this year. Tennessee, you actually kind of wonder, who do they bring back? I mean, they lose Kevin Punter, 22 points a game last year. They also lose Armani Moore, another guy that was their second leading scorer. So they're going through some growing pains, and they're facing a hot team who's experienced, in-state. This is a dangerous game. It reminds you a lot in a way of the first game we discussed, UNC Greensboro and Virginia, a team that's a little hobbled, that has a big name on their chest, but at the end of the day, Chattanooga, you see it time and time again, they come out and are ready to play here. It's a small line. I would love to have gotten seven or something here, but with bated breath, I'll take a shot with Chattanooga. I think it's a decent play. I'm interested to watch this one.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get, the fact that Chattanooga is good and everything like this, but I'm surprised at the 4 myself, too. I mean, I guess they really don't think Tennessee is all that good. I mean, they're not. They're probably, if not the worst team, maybe they're not as bad as Missouri in the SEC, but they're pretty bad. You mentioned they lose a ton of guys, and a couple guys to transfer, a couple guys are graduating. They get that guy, what's his name, Evans from Utah State, to come in, try to get some scoring done. But overall, I mean, maybe they sneak a couple of these games in here. But the fact that Chattanooga is going into an SEC school and only getting 4 points should tell you the story of what lines makers really think about this Tennessee team. And like you said, there's going to be one team on that court that wants that more than anything, and there's going to be another team that's sort of just trying to get their season going. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Chattanooga wipe this one off. But I wish I could get like plus 200, plus 250 on a money line. But like I said, the 4 tells the story about what they think of this.
Yeah, it's actually in some spots down to 3 on certain books. So yeah, I mean, you definitely are getting a lot of respect here for Chattanooga. It just kind of shows you that Tennessee, I mean, no one really cares about it anymore. So
it's amazing how far off they fell. It's crazy.
And look, Chattanooga, I mean, Casey Jones and Trey McClain are really good. So I think it's worth a look tonight, Chattanooga. One other one, I think a lot of people are down on UCLA after their year last year. I mean, I know they didn't play well. I mean, they had some growing pains. They lost to Monmouth, early on, and they were kind of reminded you a lot of this year's football team. I mean, just kind of growing pains, not playing well, kind of irresponsibly in a way. But, they come back this year, I mean, with everyone. I mean, Bryce Alford's back. Thomas Welsh is back. Isaac Hamilton's back. They scored 80 points a game at home last year. They're going to score. I mean, that's key. Problem is, they didn't cover a lot of numbers. They were 11-21 against the spread. But they're facing a Pacific team who, look, I mean, had trouble scoring on the road last year. They were 2-12 on the road straight up, scoring just 66 points a game. New coach, Damon Stoudemire, a familiar name. He's coaching at Pacific. And, look, Pacific had a run one time because Michael Olowokandi went there. But other than that, they've just been kind of a West Coast forgotten basketball program. And, I think UCLA at home here, I think the number's a little generous. I thought it'd be closer to 20. At 17, I think they might be worth a look here. I think people are down on UCLA. The one issue, and why I probably won't bet it, I mean, I want to see what UCLA has defensively. They weren't particularly strong last year on that end. They gave up 77 points a game. So for me, I don't know. It's just intriguing. I think at the end of the night, though, this could be one where people are kind of annoyed that didn't go. The Pacific, I don't know if they have much of a shot here.
Yeah, I was looking because team totals came out like a half hour before you called. I'm like, who's going to score the most tonight? And I looked at UCLA and said, you know what, this could be the team that does it. We'll see what happens when they get into Pac-12 play. They got a lot to prove. They got a coach on the hot seat. Definitely, this is his 4th year, and really, I mean, last year, sometimes they try to go up tempo, then all of a sudden they were playing a half-court offense. He didn't know what to do with these kids. I read somewhere where he said he's going to make it a lot simpler, just, sort of just keep the one thing. UCLA is deep at the guard position, really deep at the guard position. And, as we know, if you're going to make a run in any of these tournaments, not saying that UCLA is going to make a run to the national title, but, you need good guard play, especially in the Pac-12 where they're loaded with really good guards. So we'll see. But again, it comes down to whether or not this coach has enough patience to let one scheme work before he scraps it and throws out another one. And then next thing you know, he loses the reins and he's gone before the end of the year, which very well could happen. But as far as tonight, I think they could put up 90. Could be one of the higher scoring numbers you see tonight as far as that.
Yeah, UCLA, again, a team that a lot of people were down on last year, but look, they can score. It's just can they get stops? They should be able to against a Pacific team that struggles to score the basketball. So yeah, Sean, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a ton of games. We can't cover them all because we'll be here for a while, but again, I would urge you, watch a lot of the games. Put some plays in and maybe take some of our advice on maybe a Ball State that I think we both said we really liked, or Valparaiso. That's a game I think we both kind of were dialed in on. Sean, any games that you're kind of keyed in on that you want to bring up here?
Yeah, I mean, keyed in. I always sort of go easy here at the beginning because it is what it is, and just like the season, we're starting out with the season 2, and as it goes, we'll have a better idea of what we're going to expect out of teams. But right now, we can only go by what we saw last year and what's coming in. But a couple games as far as dogs that maybe have a chance. There's always a few that upset. I look at Bowling Green. Yeah, I think it's all the way down to 8 tonight. They're a good dog, and then always IPFW. Who knows? Maybe they can go and pull the upset tonight. They're getting 14 going into Kansas. That's a tall task going down into there. But a team like Bowling Green, they're getting 9. You can get good money on the money line. It's a client play of mine. I sent it out at 8. I think I played it at 9, then it jumped quick. But they're a team that could go in there and get the job done tonight. There's a couple others. Really, the smart thing to do sometimes when, unless if you're dealing with some of the powerhouses, but, taking some of these points, be careful with the totals early. We'll see how we all know the shot clock rule changed last year. We'll see how that, where all these coaches had a year to, sort of perfect the new rules, see how that works as far as pace of play. But just as a couple, Bowling Green and IPFW getting a bunch of points, I think those are good.
Yeah, IPFW, look, they're the most profitable team over the last year or two in college basketball. They lose Max Landis, who I loved. I mean, the kid shot 46% from 3, 18 points a game. But they bring back everyone else. Mo Evans, who was suspended last year, John Conchar, Joe Reed, Brett Calhoun. They bring back a lot. D'Angelo Stewart. They bring back everyone except for Max Landis. I'm going to be interested to see early on if they can cover numbers. Got to go on the road and play Arkansas in the first game, which, it is a tough one. It's SEC and it's Dusty Hanna's in Arkansas. But, again, with Arkansas, I mean, Hanna's is still there. I mean, they're still a pretty good team. Moses Kingsley's still there. This is a tough one, but I love IBFW. I think they can cover every game. That would be the way I'd lean, just because, I know that IPFW can score, and I know they can shoot the 3, so that's going to keep you in a game. As far as your other play on Bowling Green, I think that's another one that I liked Bowling Green last year. I bet them a lot. I like Spencer Parker a lot. Problem is Spencer Parker's gone, and they struggled at times to score the basketball last year, and they're playing Oakland, who I know you mentioned them earlier. I think they're better than I think they're going to be better than they were last year. I mean, they brought in 2 transfers. We know they can score, but they don't play any defense, and that's kind of your saving grace. Can Bowling Green score enough? Sharps are betting Bowling Green. The number's been bet down. I don't think that's public action betting Bowling Green. I definitely like IPFW. Bowling Green, I'm interested to see how they come out without Parker, but they still have guys that can score the ball. So, and you don't have to worry about Kay Felder either. So that's another benefit. But as you can see, guys, we love the college basketball scene. We could talk about it for a while, but we're about an hour in here and it's time to go. So, Sean, we can find you, obviously, on c2csportsfirm.com. You can also find me over there. We got some great things going on. Keep in mind, we only talk college basketball. You got college football tomorrow as well. I know, Sean, you have plenty of games for tomorrow, and you got NBA, and you got all sorts of things. So, like I said before, I mean, just because college basketball is on doesn't mean you have to bet it, okay? But if you enjoy it like we do, get involved. Don't go crazy. But early on, there's money to be made. These teams no one knows a whole lot about. So that'll be it for our first episode of our college basketball season. Sean, thanks as always for coming on and breaking some stuff down. And I'll leave you to plug anything you want to plug.
Yeah, well, hopefully this will become a weekly thing, and then maybe
For sure.
Even more so than that. You know where to find us, C2C Sports Firm. You can't beat $200 for the rest of the year. You're getting every sport, both of us. Even if you're just looking for information as far as some advice, and not even just betting all our plays, but just to get the information we're going to give you with our client plays is worth the $200 for the next month and a half or whatever it is. So check that out. Always, you can find us on Twitter. Just DM us if you got a question. We're more than happy to work with you. Again, we're not trying to get rich off you guys. We're just trying to help and get compensated a little bit. I'll be doing a Periscope, a couple of them tomorrow for football. Don't forget about football. And I'm sure Jeff's doing SBR or whatever too. So we'll be all over the map all weekend, and a very exciting, busy weekend. It's really time to settle in for the fall and get going with some good sports months to come.
Yeah, actually, before I didn't get a chance to go and look at my book. World Cup qualifiers, Sean, are back for November, and I cashed on Armenia plus 245 against Montenegro. So how about that? The Armenians, the Fighting Kim Kardashians, get the job done. How about that?
There you go. I got a 7-team round robin as usual with those.
Okay, yeah. World Cup qualifiers, they're definitely ones that I enjoy. So, so that's it, guys. Let me just recap games we went over. Ball State -3, UNC Greensboro plus 14, UNC minus 21, and Valpo minus the 23. Sean, you mentioned you like IPFW plus the double digits against Arkansas and Bowling Green. What number did you get on that one?
9.
Very good. Plus 9 against Oakland. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me at C2C, the BMOC, and at JFFNADU. You can find me at C2CSportsFirm.com. You can find Sean there as well. We'll be back next time on the Big Men on Campus, sponsored by C2CSportsFirm.com. Everyone have a great day and enjoy the hoops. Bye-bye.